If you're struggling a little bit with life and feeling it's quite hard, there's a good chance someone said to you, "Oh, don't worry, life will get better. It always does." And I agree with that. Life does always get better. In fact, I know it always gets better. But I do believe there's a proviso, there's a condition to that. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. The condition, the thing that I think we need to do to make sure life does get better. And the way I want to tell this story is really just through my own experience of life getting better and the way I went about rebuilding it after I experienced a pretty severe sort of set of circumstances a few years ago. So I've shared this story before, but 10 years ago, I was the managing director and co-owner of a business in Edinburgh. From the outside, everything was looking like it was going great. Everything was fine. Good clients, profitable, lots of awards, good reputation, all those sorts of things, and earning good money. But on the inside, I was feeling lost. I was struggling with life. It was feeling anxious, and I didn't cope with it at all well. And so I drank, and alcohol was my solution to make things feel a bit better. But that solution was a disaster. Didn't work out well. In fact, it took pretty much everything from me. I lost my business as a result of that. Lost my reputation, my self-esteem, my source of income. And then to make matters worse, life threw me a really hard blow then, and I lost my wife to cancer. And as I said, I've shared that story before, and I do so because, one, it reminds me about the journey I've been on and what's happened in the last few years as I've rebuilt my life, and also to share with others that, you know, if things are bad and things do feel almost hopeless, then you know, life does get better. But as I said, there is this proviso, and that proviso, that condition, was something that I was taught, or that I went through at that very difficult stage. So in that very difficult place that I was, alone, feeling lost, confused, no source of income, no job, single parent with 4 school-age children to deal with. That's when I, out of desperation, found the 12-step program of recovery. Now, what that program gave me were sort of, I think, 3 or 4 basic ingredients that helped me cope with the struggle that I was dealing with. So it gave me a process. So that process was the 12-step program of recovery. It gave me a morning routine, which was the sort of the meditation, the contemplation, the exercise, the things I did every single day, basically to ground me, to keep me on track. It gave me tools, specific tools, so when I was struggling with cravings or anything, I could deal with them in that moment. And it gave me a community of people who were going through the same thing. And when I look back now, it's been 7 years since I had my last drink, and 7 years since I've been on that program, on that process. I can see how much my life has changed and how much better life is, and, you know, almost incredibly better, a lot different. But throughout that process, you never really felt there was this sort of transformational moment where I go, I get it. This is it. This is why I'm feeling so much better. This is the solution, because it was almost like a very imperceptible, you know, going through the process, doing the morning routine, using the tools day by day, day by day, day by day. And the people, including myself, that did the best throughout that period of time were the people that would manage to stay on the plateau when nothing seemed to be happening. And so we'd be, you know, doing the routine, we'll be going through the program, we'll be going to the meetings day in, day out, week in, week out, and nothing seemed to be happening. We just seemed to be just going along, doing the same old thing without any sort of sign of improvements. And it actually reminds me of that story, I don't know if an apocryphal story of when you put frogs in hot water and you slowly heat up the water. They don't sort of sense that the water's heating until it's too late, and they sort of get boiled. It's like that, but almost in reverse, because I was doing this work which wasn't easy. I didn't necessarily enjoy it, and in fact I was a bit embarrassed that I was having to do this work. I had a program, I was doing prayers and meditation and going to self-help groups. It's not something that you really want to admit to people, but I was doing it day in, day out. And over time, it was like imperceptibly, I was getting better, I was getting happier, and life was improving. It was only when I look back that I see that it was that consistency that made life so much better. And actually, as I look back and I look at that consistency, there's one thing that I think it was at the core of the program, and the core of these tools and the morning routine and the group, that is the proviso that I think, yes, life will always get better providing you do this. And that one thing is the ability or the capability to show up every day and deal with life's problems, engage with life problems. So it's a bit more, rather than just dealing with them in a sort of a resentful, begrudging way, it's actually engaging proactively with your problems to seek solutions to get to the other side. Because that was really at the heart of what I was doing. Every day, though, the program, the tools, it was enabling me to get up and face what was a pretty dire situation. Get up, face the fact that I was on my own, face the fact that I had 4 kids to deal with as a single parent, face the fact that I had blown up my own career and reputation. I had to find another way of work, another source of income, but I had to be there for the kids. Face all these things and face my failings, be truthful about the problem that I had and my drinking, be honest about the wreckage that caused, make amends for that wreckage, and just face up to the reality of what life was throwing me. And in doing that, there was a sense of acceptance, there was a sense of forgiveness, and a sense of gratitude of what I'd still had that just kept me going. And it's that core capability that I think is at the heart of anything that makes life better. Is the sort of the ongoing skill that we all have to nurture to make life an ever growing, increasingly exciting and great place to be in, to live, and the world to be in. But the problem is, it's not a very attractive sell. It's not a very compelling argument, because most of the time what we're looking for as human beings, we want the quick fix. We want buy now and in 4 weeks you'll have the 6-pack stomach, or sign up and I will show you how to make £1 million only working 2 days a week. Those sorts of things we're drawn to because it feels like, oh, I can get the solution and it'll be easy and quick, and I don't have to put the effort in. But unfortunately, my experience is, well, you do have to put the effort in. It's not always easy, but what I think this approach does, this sort of consistent, diligent approach to engaging with life's problems, what it does is it gives you something that none of those quick fixes can give you, and that is a real grounding stability to deal with whatever life throws at you, because you're tapping into something more fundamental than just the circumstances around you. What I believe you're tapping into by engaging with your problems is a sense of aliveness, and aliveness is almost like the substructure upon which your life is built. So it's the substructure on which your relationships are built, or what your work is built upon, or your family life. Any of those things are built on this sense of aliveness. And if you can tap into that, then you will always be able to get through the other side, because life is always delivering. Life is always abundant. Life will always deliver. It might not deliver what you want or what you're expecting or what you hope for, but it will always deliver a solution that is good enough for you to go on to the next day and try again, and apply yourself, engage in those problems, and do so in a way that you know that everything will be all right, because it always is all right. And so that's the one thing I wanted to share with you today, this sense of engaging with problems to get to that aliveness of life. But the other thing that I also am aware of is that I got into that program and that process and those tools, and I was doing that and surviving the plateau when nothing seemed to be happening, because I didn't have a choice, because my life was in a bit of a chaotic state. I was desperate for a solution. I wanted to stop drinking, and I would do anything to stop drinking. I thought if I stop drinking, everything will be okay. It certainly helped, but actually the foundations underneath that was this ability to solve my problems, to engage in those problems, and be honest about those problems, and get to the other side of every single day. I had to do that because I was desperate. Most people, and most people watching this video, I suspect that the problems aren't as drastic as that. I think your work situation would be okay. Your relationship, your marriage was probably okay. Home life, okay. You're ticking along, but you do sense that there's something missing. You sense that there should be more to life, and there's this disquiet, unsatisfactoriness about life that you just can't put your finger on. And the danger with that is it's quite easy to either ignore or numb away. Whether you distract yourself from that slightly uncomfortable feeling with alcohol or watching social media or whatever it might be, you could even work through that discomfort. And so it's harder the desperation isn't quite there. And that's why I've built this midlife rebuild project, is for people exactly in that situation where everything seems to be okay, but certainly when we get into our 50s, you think, oh, am I just going to hang on in there till I get to retirement? I can cope with it. It's not that bad. But in the coping, I think you're missing that aliveness, because the thing that you're missing, the thing you go, oh, I think there's something missing. It's that aliveness. It's the feeling, the buzz of being alive, that sort of grounds everything. It's that substructure. And so I wanted to help people with the process, with the routines, with the tools, and the community to enable people to get through that plateau of monotony, to experience what that aliveness feels like, because it's a magical state. Well, from my experience, it is, because I know what I was like just a few years ago, and I really just want to share that with people. So that's what today's video is about. I've actually written an article. In fact, this video is based on an article I wrote. So I've just started my Substack channel. So if you want to sign up to that and get more articles, I'll be sharing more on there. I'll put the link in below. And and just any comments you have, any comments about the things that you do or you think you've tried to help you through this. Oh, life's not that great. I'm sure there's some quick fixes that people have tried, and I'd love to hear about them. And also just what you sense might be a solution to that sense of emptiness that's not life. You've got to be more than this, because I'm really keen to understand that situation and help people with a process and the tools and the routines that will get them to where I know that aliveness lives. So I hope that's useful, and I shall see you in the next video.